So we actually did both. We spent a good deal of time investigating how the department, so in our case, it was looking at further education services, so how the department manages the services and the policy and delivery around further education, so within DFE and the ESFA. And we did that by speaking to a range of different teams. And so team meetings that we attended with our internal colleagues, and our business analyst did a really thorough review of policy documents and also the digital services on Gov UK that we as a department and ESFA work on for further education. And that carried on throughout the project, and that was really important for us to understand how government is currently meeting the needs of those users and also where the gaps are. But I was the user researcher on the project, so I quite quickly recognized that as a team we needed to move out of this internally focused view and learn more about the challenges and the problems and all the goals and needs that our users have. And so from really early on in the project, I set up a series of immersion days for a whole team to visit users in different locations and different contexts. So that was mainly further education providers of all different types. And that was before COVID, so we were still able to go out. And I arranged those visits with different providers in one local hub that we had in Greater Manchester, and then one southern coastal location. And we did interviews and group sessions, workshops with the leadership teams in those providers, with further education teachers, with learners, and we visited employers as well and local authorities. So that was via desk research and speaking to colleagues within DFE and ESFA to find out who are all the actors, who are the people, who are the users in this ecosystem of further education. And it's actually quite a complex picture. And there's different types of further education providers, colleges, apprenticeship training providers, sixth forms, community and adult training. And within those providers, there's obviously the people that we wanted to speak to, leadership teams, HR, finance, all the safeguarding leads, estate teams. And then there's the further education teachers. And then obviously there's the learners and all different types of learners. So very young people from 16 plus to adults that are returning to education, or also adult learners that just do learning for fun or for a hobby. So from the start, we realized it goes well beyond just the teachers, learners, and the people managing that provision. And that's where doing that desk research, talking to internal colleagues, helped us. We only had a set amount of time to work on this, so roughly three months. And even within that time frame, we needed to prioritize user groups. And also through that initial thinking time that we spent on it, we decided to get that look from the outside in. We're going to use a provider lens, because further education providers are the ones that the department interacts with most, and where we target a lot of the services. So this was the first project that I worked on when I joined government, and the first time I actually also worked with a concept of service line. So it was new to me, and I didn't quite understand how we'd get all the things that we were learning into the format of a service lines map. But it was something that emerged organically as we worked on it as a team. And we had a really experienced service designer who'd worked on a similar project before. So after that desk research and spending time with colleagues thinking about it, we did some assumption mapping, formulated some assumptions as a team about further education providers, thinking about all the problems and challenges that were in the system and at that time. And those assumptions helped me as a user researcher then to formulate the discussion guide that we took with us to the immersion visits to providers and also employers. And I made sure that most of the team attended the majority of those visits. Part of the team was learning about all those things from the provider and user perspective and learner perspective, employer perspective. But and there was lots of stuff that we had on all the post-its that we were making, all the research notes in my head. And I was thinking, how is all of that, all these amazing, like really valuable things, how are they going to fit into a service lines map? And halfway through the project, I kind of had an aha moment. We were a team that was split across two sites, so Manchester and London. So we were struggling with like working together collaboratively, but regularly we'd come together for a day face to face. And on one such visit, the service designer then presented a draft of the service lines map, just an Excel spreadsheet with differently colored columns, one for each sort of bucket of a service line with different services, different user goals underneath. And I'd printed that out on large sheets of paper, kind of stuck together on a wall, and then walked us through it. And that was the moment when I felt, I get it. I really get it now. Because everything that I had heard from those visits to providers, from discussions, interviews, was suddenly, yeah, starting to fit into those places, starting to fit into those service lines. After creating the service lines map, we needed to explain a bit more what each of these service lines meant, why it was important, what the user needs were for each of the users within that service line, what their pain points and what their challenges were. So we created a report that had a section for each of these service lines. That helped us as a team think through what are the big problems and what are the relationships between sort of issues within one service line. How do they affect what's happening in another service line in terms of also user needs, user goals, their pain points and challenges. So we were really, as a team, steeped within the subject matter, which then helped us at the end come up with the big problem statement. So we had a session on that where we just sat down and said, right, let's think about, let's brainstorm some what are the big ticket items, big problem statements for this service line that is about managing and retaining staff. What are the big items, the big issues uh, around learners, supporting learners, and equally, what are the big issues around employers? And that was really then the start to help us think, where are the gaps in terms of government not meeting and not responding to user needs in that sector, and where can we build recommendations? So really the problem statements were a start for us as a team to build recommendations that then took the form of design missions where it was about service design, or policy missions where it was more of a development in the policy, or recommendation in the policy area.